Hello, I'm Wonder001, and this is my review of M1 Finance. It is a online brokerage firm, very similar to other Robo advisors, Wealthfront, Betterment, things of that nature, but different in other ways, major ways that I will talk about. Now, I'm going to be approaching this from a slightly different aspect than other reviews that I've seen. A lot of the other reviews I see, they talk about what their portfolio is made of, how their investments are doing, not necessarily the platform itself. While I will discuss how my investments have been doing, I'm more going to be discussing the overall platform itself, things that I like, things that I didn't like, and so forth. Now, quick background, the reason I ended up with M1 Finance, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I actually primarily invest using Wealthfront. I was looking for an alternative for my wife. She has a Vanguard retirement account, but I convinced her that she needs to kind of start a general investment account. Now, the idea was that we would go to Vanguard and set her up with a investment account over there. The problem being, if we wanted to automate, which is the primary reason I highly suggest M1 Finance, if we wanted to automate that process for her, we needed to select a mutual fund, and the starting account balance for that would have been $3,000. That buy-in was much harder for my wife to swallow than she was willing. Now, I could pick the assets that I have in here and set them up in Vanguard for her in a general investment account. However, doing so would require me or her, realistically me, to go in and every month or every week or however I set it up, go in and take money from our account and put it into Vanguard. Now, the big thing with the Robo advisor, they take automation and make it simple. You don't have to do anything. You tell it how much you want from from your original account to this account, and it does that on a basis that you predefine. That is the importance of services like this. You don't want to have to think about it. If you think about it, then you're thinking about the money. So that's why I ended up doing this instead of a Vanguard account. Now, I have been keeping my eye on M1 Finance for quite some time now. So let's talk about the actual onboarding process. It was pretty simple to do. It was done in about 5 to 10 minutes. It asks you a few generic financial questions. You get them with most of the online accounts. The one annoyance that I had was these are all classified as pies, and this is your overall portfolio. When you are creating your M1 account, it will not let you proceed to actually have the account start or be active until you create at least one pie. Now, you can use predefined existing pies that they have set up for you, but you need at least one pie in order to proceed with the onboarding process. Now, I feel if they took that out, it would make it a little better. Now, one of the other things that was unique in the onboarding process for M1 Finance, after the loveliness of the Equifax problems from a couple years ago, we put freezes on our accounts. I wasn't thinking. We started the process. She still had a freeze on her account. So to get around that, M1 sent us an email saying, hey, we need a copy of your driver's license and a utility bill just to prove you are who you say you are. So no big there. After which it will ask you for your banking information so that you can move money into your account. They do have a fairly robust listing of accounts or of financial institutions that you can pull from. Ours was not listed, so we did have to insert a routing number and do the micro deposits in order to make sure that our bank was actually our bank. In total, it took about 3 days, even with sending them her driver's license and utility bill. So even with that extra little hiccup, not terrible. Now, a few little housekeeping things before we actually start looking around. You have several different types of accounts that you can have. You can have a general investment account. You can have a Roth IRA. You can have an IRA. You can have a joint. You can have a trust. With a general investing account, if you don't set it up as a joint, and for an IRA, from what I've understood, it's not a problem. But with a general investing account, to set up a beneficiary, they kind of make you jump through some hoops. So you have to email them, and we haven't gone through this yet, but it's something that we're going to do. I wish, like other platforms, they made it a little easier for the general investing account to set up a beneficiary. I mean, I realize you could set up a joint account, but setting up a beneficiary for this type of account shouldn't be as hard as they're making it. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's start taking a look at the platform itself. Now, there are some things that I well, there are lots of things that I like. There are a few things that I dislike about M1 Finance, and a lot of that's going to revolve around having to click in too many places to get to what you're trying to find, or just that it seems like the item that you're looking for is just placed oddly. So we're going to start at the top here through this blue bar. Currently you are on the invest page, so this will show you your portfolio, have access to these extra areas, which we'll be touching on a little later. It will show you any cash in the account, and it will let you add an account. Also has this chart and your pies, but we'll be back to this page later. Coming across to the right here, you have M1 Spend. So a lot of these online brokerages are moving to expand their offerings. So in this case, M1 Finance is introducing a checking account, which you can earn 1.5 APY. Coming over, there is M1 Borrow. So if you have a set amount in your taxable account, you can borrow against it. Again, other brokerages do this as well. You do need to have a substantial amount of money in your account in order to do this, but this is also one way that M1 Finance makes money. So let's touch on how much does M1 charge, or how much does it cost to use M1. It is free. So they have practices like this and a few other things that help them make money so that they don't have to pass those expenses off to you. Now, research will change your submenus here. A lot of people, from what I was watching and reading, they don't feel that this area is as robust as it could be, but the information you get here, not great, but not terrible. I mean, realistically, you've got news of what's going on in the markets. You can see the markets here. They'll show you what they've been doing for the day, last updated 3 hours ago. Coming across here, since we're in the research area, so market news, stocks. This will show you all of the things that you can buy with M1 Finance. There are currently a total of 4,233 individual stocks and ETFs that you can purchase. Now, M1 Finance does not support bonds or mutual funds, although you can get an ETF that will capture the bond market. And here you can see right now is showing you, based on market cap, individual stocks. Now you can change this, and I can say do it based on dividend yield, because we're going to go across here and show you for Microsoft. You can see information aside from market cap. Dividend yield, it will show you the pricing history, and you can change this because it's currently on 1 year. You can change that to 3 year or 5 year, and it will give you that information here in a graph form as well as a percentage. It will also show you its PE ratio. Now, they used to have a information button right next to that, so I think you guys need to put that back, because if you don't know what PE ratio is, you should be able to kind of just hover over that. But here you go, different ratios. Over here on the left-hand side, you can actually filter for things that you're looking for. So you can say market capitalization, minimum, maximum, PE ratio, minimum, maximum, dividend yield, min, max. I mean, you get the idea. You can also drill down into, let's hypothetically say, you're looking for technology. Well, now it's filtering out everything that's not a technology. You can go even further. So let's say we want to do online media. Now it's gotten rid of even more. So, hey, you've got Google right here. If we click on, Alphabet. If you click on Alphabet, it will show you. Here you go. Google Alphabet, current price, market cap, PE ratio, dividend yield. You can add this to a watch list, which I'm going to do right now. I'll show you that in a moment. So this is adding it to an area that's not attached to your actual portfolio, but you just want to keep an eye on this particular option. You can come over here and actually add it to your portfolio if you wanted to, but you would have to select which pie you wanted that to go into. Here you have a performance chart, and right now it's showing you the day. You can select all the way up again to your 5 year, and there it's indicating that there was a split back in 2014. Scrolling down, it will give you a little brief history of the particular stock that you've clicked on. So it's showing you it's a stock, it's technology, it's an online media. Here's a little blurb, current CEO, blah, 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 blah. Any news that's come up about this, and this portion here is going to be important for something else I'm going to show you a little later. But that's the drill down into an individual stock. You can also come up here and search for a stock. So if we did this and click on that, you can pick a stock right away if you know the ticker symbol or the name of it. And again, this is just a generic one that I know about. So we're going to go back, and that is our stocks or actual research area, or one of the research areas. Again, for most people, I think this is going to be a great help in information if you're not used to looking at stuff like this. Moving on, we're going to funds. So same thing, your mins and your maxes, you can select categories. So like I said before, if you wanted to get some bonds, you can come over here and you've got things that will watch your bond market. You can also drill down even further. Now, I will say that they do not do cryptocurrency either, so if you're looking for that, this is probably not going to be what you want to see. But again, if we come over here and we click on Vanguard Total Bond Market, it's going to show us. And then in this one, it's going to show us the breakdown of the allocations inside of this. And clicking on this will actually show you the prospectus. And clearing that up, if we look at our funds, there are 1,900 funds that you can do. Moving along, we've got my pies. So these are pies that I have set up. Here is my current portfolio, which is made up of 3 individual pies. And then here are 2 pies that I created for myself. Here I have my moderate aggressive / domestic dividends. And this was me just kind of playing with the system because I want to make some changes, but I'm not going to make them as of yet. But this is a good way of showing you if you have individual segments of your pie. So you'll notice this pie is made up of a few different options, 7 to be exact. Clicking on any one of your pies will show you its holdings, the dividend yield, and the expense ratio. Now, I have these 2 in here, which are making it more expensive than I would like, but again, this is just informational at the moment. Now, the reason that I've made these particular pies, this one, because of tax loss harvesting with another online advisor, I'm trying to kind of get my funds in line with both my wife and I. Here we have expert utility without PCNG here. Now, wildfires in California, being held responsible for it and going through bankruptcy. So I had make a pie that had some energy utilities in it, to take out PCNG because I didn't want it. And that is because of expert pies. So I'm going to go over here. A lot of people talk about expert pies where they go, hey, it's really cool. If you want to do something, you can come over and say, hey, planning for retirement, view the pies. Here's a bunch of target date things. You can come all the way down here. 2050 moderate. Here's the stuff that's in this pie, blah, 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 blah. And then they just move on. Expert pies, while I think they are really good if you don't know what you want to do, and that's one of the big things with M1 Finance. If you're going to be making your own portfolio, you kind of have to know what you're doing, but these expert pies would allow you to have them make something for you. But here's where I ran into a problem and why I had that pie without PCNG. Coming over to pies, I added into my wife's portfolio utilities because, you know, everybody needs utilities. At one time, this AWK was PCNG. The problem with an expert pie, you cannot change it. You cannot change the percentages. You cannot change the assets that are in here. Now, this is one of the issues that I had with M1 Finance. Once the news in November of 2018 started hitting that PCNG would be held accountable for the wildfires, I saw the stock start moving. And while I don't have a lot in there because of fractional shares, which is a benefit of M1 Finance, I wanted to pull myself out of that position. Because I used an expert pie, I was not allowed to. Now, as I stated, they did replace PCNG with American Waterworks here. However, there was no messaging from M1 Finance that they were going to do this. It just happened one day. So I got to sit here and watch as PCNG went down and thinking, oh, I need to take myself out of this. I can't do anything. And then magically saw some trades and then American Waterworks showed up. And this is my biggest problem with the expert pies. If you choose one, you can't change it at all. So my suggestion is, if you're going to use expert pies, create the pie, just match everything that they have in it in percentages, You can change the percentages if you wanted to, but use the expert pies as a guide and do not actually use the expert pie, because the fact that I couldn't pull myself out of that position that I wanted to really frustrated me. All right, so with that little rant out of the way, last bit here, watch list. So remember, we added Google/Alphabet to our watch list, and then here are some that I added before. So this is where you can keep track of your watch list. All right, coming back up to the M, this brings us back to our main portfolio page. So let's take a deeper dive into what we actually have here. As I stated before, this is a generic overview of your portfolio. What's happening? You can see I have 3 pies, and when I highlight them over here, they get highlighted down here. Likewise, here is a chart. You can see I've got several steps. So when I originally started my wife's portfolio, we started with $100, and I'm like, well, the beauty of M1 Finance is it will invest with as low as $10. So that's due to fractional shares, which is awesome. So then the following month, I did 2 $50 deposits. And then I'm like, well, we can take this even further. And right now, I'm currently on a recurring $25 a week deposit to try and help capture dollar cost averaging. If you wanted to, right now I have it set for all. You can change it for a year for the chart. Q1, month, week. I just generally leave it on all. Here you will see your gains. So we have $15.64 in appreciation and earned dividends of $1.80, giving us 7.53 in returns. Here you can see your account value. So market gains, net cash, etc. Moving down, as I stated, if we highlight one of these, it will highlight its share in the pie there. Utilities I'm going to click into because I think, yeah, it's a little hard to see, but you have your pie, and then there's this faded dotted line. So if you're outside of that, you are overweighted, and if you're under that, like this one here, you are underweighted. But it will allow you, clicking into an individual pie, let you see just how that pie in particular is performing and what it's done for you. Now, you will notice that there is a rebalance here. There was also a rebalance on the main page. If you select, they automatically do rebalancing. This will not rebalance in a way that you're probably normally familiar with. Selecting rebalance will sell your positions that you're overweight in and buy your underperforming positions. Or what it will do is, as you add money, it will add more money percent-wise to those positions that are performing lower than those that are performing better, in a way to balance things out without actually incurring a taxable event. Now, since we're over here, you can select edit, which will allow you to edit the percentages of your individual pies. You can add another pie. Buying and selling, if we select this here, this is how you can buy or sell more. So if you want to do a cash deposit. Now, if you're selling, this isn't you actually withdrawing your funds from the account. This is just you selling positions to have a cash balance, which is why it warns you here that you need to turn off automatic investing, which is found over here. So that's our main page here. Coming across, we have activity. So activity, you can see what has been happening. This page, I really wish, like clicking on dividends, like they don't really notify you about dividends. I feel this page in particular needs a little bit more work. You've got your statements, you've got your tax forms, and you've got your trade confirmations here. Over here, you can see, if you click on a day, it will show you cash that went in. If you got any dividends, here's your deposit, and then it will show you. In my case, I have 30 buys, and it will show you what it purchased all of those at. And down here on January 9th is when I said it made some changes. So selling PC&G here, and then it purchased these other ones. Again, this page needs some work. Here is your cash, and here is your account value, which again, if we go back here, you'll notice that the portfolio is not quite worth, it has some lag between the actual account and what it displays. Coming over to holdings, it will show you all of your holdings. And again, this is not my recommendation by any way, shape, or form, and you can always change what it's sorted on. Right now it's sorted on the value. So this will show you number of shares, average price, cost-based, value, and then unrealized gains. So in this case, it's showing you what I have the most of, and then we go all the way down to what I have the least of. Funding is just that. It's how you are going to fund your M1 account. This is also where you would either deposit, you can deposit another way, or withdraw funds from here. Withdrawing funds from here will not actually throw it into your cash area. It will actually send it to your attached bank account. Now, they only allow you to have one attached bank account, which I wish they kind of would let you do more than one, because I had originally intended this to be a means by which could place monies that we lent out to people into a area that would garner some better interest, but I can only set up one account, and I had to do our bank account. One of the benefits also with fractional shares is that you have a very minimal amount of cash that you have in the account. Some people like not having cash on hand, and others would prefer to have a little bit. There are caveats. As you can see, I have $1.03. That's because it couldn't quite purchase enough, but when you do your next deposit, it will throw that in there. I have it set to auto invest when it reaches the $10 threshold. I can select to auto invest at a determined one, or I can select do not reinvest my cash, but I kind of like to have that. You can also see here, I have a schedule set up, and that's because realistically, you want to have this reinvesting as regularly as you can, and that's the beauty of the $10 minimum. You would come over here, select deposit, and then it would say frequency, and then you can set weekly, monthly, daily. I'm not going to show you that because there's just more bank information there to have to blur out later. But that was the overall gist of M1 Finance. Now, if you're wondering where your brokerage account is held, it's actually held in Apex Clearing Corporation. Pretty much the same thing that Betterment has. Wealthfront used it until they brought it in-house. So you're okay there. There are ways that you can purchase individual stocks. So if you select buy here, that will buy and just distribute to the pie based on your percentages. If you wanted to buy more of a single item, you can come over, select it, and then here we're on Vanguard corporate bonds here. I would select buy, and then I would be able to purchase more of that particular item. Now, because of the way that M1 Finance processes their buys, it's got a time window. It does it once a day, 10 a.m. Eastern. So you're not really going to be using this for day trading if that's something you're considering. Most people that I've watched and looked at, they use it for dividend portfolios, which makes sense because there's no trade fees, there's no account fee. It makes a lot of sense, and will trade as low as $10. Again, you do need to have $100 to start an investment account and $500 to start an IRA. So all in all, I mean, M1 Finance is definitely something that you want to consider, even if you're using a Betterment or a Wealthfront, if you want to hold those individual stocks that you might not be able to hold in an account like that. Again, for the low fee of free, you can't really go wrong. And like I said, I was looking for something that was simplistic and automated to help my wife. And I will be recommending this to my younger sister-in-law because she really needs to get started on her Roth IRA. And because of the low purchase and fractional shares, I think this would be an excellent option for her. One last thing, M1 Finance does have a referral program. So I will have in the description area below a referral link. If you click on that, it will give you a $10 sign-on bonus, and gives me a $10 sign-on bonus. If you found this helpful or useful in any way, shape, or form, I do realize it was a little longer than I wanted it to be. I do believe that the $10 sign-on bonus is only available for investment accounts, not for IRAs, so please keep that in mind. Again, I was trying to look at this from the platform view as opposed to the individual stocks and my investing methodology. Whether that was helpful or not, I don't know. I hope it was. If there's something that you want to see more in depth or feel that I skipped, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to either go back and explain it or follow up on this in a couple of months, because I'm going to be making some changes to these two pies, and if you would be interested in seeing that, I'd be happy to share with you what I'm going to be doing. Again, from a platform standpoint, not so much a investing standpoint, because I still feel kind of like an investing noob. But with that said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching.